Joe's no slouch, but this fella's a giant, Zhilei Zhang. So Joe's got it all to do, and I don't suppose he enjoyed listening to that again. Joe, good afternoon. What was it like when you heard those words at the end? It must all come back. What happened that night?
Yeah, it didn't go to plan. Maybe that preparation could have been better, my weight, etc. But all those things I'm doing now is going to sort out this time, so I'm ready and going to get the win this time.
You're going to get the win. Well, Simon's alongside me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was surprised, Joe, on the evening. What I was most surprised about, and I know you've addressed it, and myself and Spencer have been talking about it repeatedly, about the weight issue, because every time I've seen you come into a ring, whether it's against Daniel Dubois in person or whether it comes against Carlos Takam or whoever else, and certainly against Joe Parker, you've been this huge figure of a man. And when I saw you come in against Zhilei Zhang, I noticed a difference in you. What was the thinking, Joe, behind coming in at a weight that was almost a stone and a quarter lighter than when you put on really, really impressive performances against Joseph Parker?
The weight wasn't really planned. It was just I come into camp and I was disciplined over Christmas. I didn't overeat. So when I came into camp, I was on weight. And then obviously Vegas is very hot. So, but I don't know, there's something in my diet that wasn't totally right, and there's a lot of little mistakes that I made in camp that have all been rectified now. So it wasn't a conscious decision to make my weight lighter for a purpose. So this camp I'm a lot heavier, and yeah, I'm ready to go. A lot more practice.
I mean, was the strategy first time round? I mean, I'm not going to ask you to tell me what your thought process is because you're not going to reveal it to your opponent. But the thought process was that he would start in a certain way, and because of the tremendous level of fitness in the engine that you got, that ultimately you might start from being behind early in the fight, but you'd catch up with him later down the stretch. Was that the thinking in that fight, and does that sort of apply in this instance, or is it a different set of thinking going on for this fight?
Yeah, there's a lot. They're totally different. Everything's like all the dots, all the I's have been dotted and the T's been crossed. So I'm in a lot better place mentally. I've had there's more preparation gone into the tactics and the mistakes that made in the last fight. There's some, last minute changes to the tactics and stuff, which is, all been worked on and practiced now. So.
Were you surprised, Joe, by him? Because everybody knew that he had relatively quick hands. Nobody thought that he had particularly quick feet, which he didn't.
But that jab, wasn't it, Simon?
Were you surprised with the power? Because, I mean, obviously, I think he beat Filip Hrgović in the previous fight, and Hrgović got away one. So it was always a dangerous fight. But you, going in there, was there anything that surprised you in the first fight?
Yeah, the speed and power. Zhang was just there waiting for me.
Are you having your bloody hair braided again, Joe Joyce?
Yeah, wait, it's press conference tomorrow. So...
Got to look your best.
So go on, sorry, I interrupted you.
Later.
Yeah, we'll watch as the hairdressers doing what hairdressers do. But Simon's right. The thing that struck me, and obviously it literally did strike you, was his non-stop sledgehammer jab. And of course that did for your eye, Joe, and then you were seeing out of one eye. You were blind in the other. What are you going to do about that this time?
Get away from it. Block it, anything. But yeah, no, it's all practiced and what exactly I'm going to do, so I'm not ready this time.
Do you worry about the necessity to get a compelling outcome? Is it just the W that matters to you, or do you feel that you need to have an outcome where you stop this fella and you make a very strong statement?
Yeah.
Or does it really not matter, Joe?
Ideally knock him out. I'm not I'm not looking to go overtime, but yeah, a win is the most important thing at this stage of my career, because I don't have time to mess about.
True.
This is my shot. This is my chance to blow. This opportunity only comes once in a lifetime, yo.
Well, what you need to do is do to him on Saturday night what you did to Dubois, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, And but Zhang is a lot more experienced than Dubois was. He's a silver medalist in his own right. So yeah, he's I guess more avoided. So he gave him that opportunity and he took it. So it's about me getting it back in time for when the WBO gets called, which is almost next in line.
And that's I was going to be my point next, Joe, because obviously at the time, and I think you bristled a little bit in me in the studio, I said, I don't like this fight for you, but I understand why you've taken it, because it puts you back into the mix as the WBO mandatory. There isn't, if and when, let's say when, because I'm optimistic for you in this fight, but if and when you win this fight, we're not likely to see the necessity for a third Joyce Zhang fight, are we? We're going to see you potentially getting an opportunity to fight the WBO champion, whoever that is. If it's Hrgovic because he beats Usyk, or if it's Usyk, that will be the next fight out if you get that opportunity, will it?
Yeah, when I get the opportunity, that is the next fight. Is as long as the mandatories are being called right now, and the bar's obviously fought Usyk now. Then it's the IBF with Filip Hrgovic, and then once I get the WBO back, then it'll be my shot.
And there's no parallel universe when you're ever going to take step aside money or stop anybody from ultimately Usyk having an undisputed. If you're next out, then you're going to get a shot at the WBO. You're not going to step aside for anybody.
Well, let's see what happens. I'm not going to look ahead like I did in the mistakes I made in the previous fight, looking ahead and not really focusing on the guy I got in front of me.
No, fair enough. Joe, it's a horrible question to ask any fighter, but I've got to ask it. Does defeat mean the end?
No, it doesn't mean the end, but I'm not thinking about defeat. I'm thinking about winning and doing fulfilling my potential as a heavyweight boxer and being a heavyweight.
Okay. Just lost your line just as the final touches were being put to that hairstyle of yours. Joe Joyce, good luck on Saturday. Thank you for joining us. It was a bit disconcerting that as he was getting the hair braided at the same time. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, you just have witnessed that. What do you think this time around, Simon? He's got a job in his hands.
Well, of course he has. I mean, last time we were supposed to do a podcast with Joe, and he couldn't come because he was having his hair braided.
Oh, right.
And then his mum reprimanded myself and Spencer about not paying enough attention to Joe Joyce, to which I pointed out the fact that we'd have given him lots of attention if he wasn't spending his time getting his bloody hair braided, which he's now doing again. What do I think? I think this is a difficult fight for him. I think that he didn't take any psychological scars out of the first fight. He was very relaxed after it because that's his disposition. It was his choice to take this fight. It was his choice to push it initially and instantaneously into a rematch. I think he beats him.
I hope so.
Because I think he's learnt the lessons. The problem with Joe is
I'm not knocking him out.
He's got the power to do it. Of course he has. I mean,
big guy Zhang, isn't he?
I know he is, but so is Joe Joyce. And Joe Joyce will be a stone, I suspect, a stone and a half heavier. He's going to get hit again because, unfortunately for Joe, that is what he is. That he gets hit.
He keeps coming, the juggernaut.
And ultimately, if it starts again in the same fashion, then I worry for that. But Joe will be wiser. He will have gotten past this this desperate Dan philosophy of sticking his chin out and saying to the world, I can take any shot that anyone throws to me. That will have gone from him because that was the build-up to the last fight was all about that. Joe Joyce can take anything any man can dispense.
Yes.
We've seen that that's a challenge.
Okay.
So I think he'll win.